You know how in the 2000s there were all those movies about finding the right person, the right guy? Yeah, I think we might have taken that idea a bit too far. Because this idea of finding the perfect match has stopped being this romantic ideal and has started becoming this very calculated search. A search for the most compatible, the most efficient, the most optimized partner. Someone who fits neatly into your life, meets your needs, does not disrupt your peace too much, and ideally comes with as little baggage as possible. And I think that shift says a lot about how we view love nowadays. What used to be framed as romance has in many ways turned into a long process of evaluation, like all those tests for your partners that you see online. We are no longer just looking for connection. We are filtering, selecting, comparing, and optimizing somehow, just like a company does with its employees. And dating apps have turned this into a reality. Capitalism has made this logic come natural to us. Everything becomes about choice, speed, convenience, and the fantasy that there is always something better out there. So in this video, I want to talk about this idea of the right person has turned into something much more transactional, because I think a lot of what people call modern love is actually an insatiable search for perfection without much space for empathy, patience, or even a realistic perception over how human relationships work. And if that is where we are heading, then it raises a much bigger question. Is the artificialization of love with things like AI companions and the increasingly automated intimacy supposed to be the answer? Or is there still such a thing as romantic human love out there? I think a lot of people know what I mean when I say that dating feels transactional now. It's that feeling that every interaction is being assessed in terms of value. Are you interesting enough? Are you attractive enough? Are you emotionally available but not too available because then you'll come off as desperate? Are you confident but not arrogant? Financially stable? Are you worth the effort? Are you worth committing to? Worth spending my time with? Worth choosing over all the other options in the dating market? And it is not that people were never evaluated before, and it is not that people never thought about these things before, but it's that now it is much more explicit and with a whole system around it. A lot of dating culture and its conversations around it have adopted this market logic. People talk about what you bring to the table. They talk about high value men and high value women. They talk about leverage, options, strategy, wasting your time, return on investments. I mean, it's literally finance bros vocabulary splashed into dating. And who decided to do this? Like, why have we come to this? That is my main question, because in my opinion this makes no sense. Even when people are not using directly this manosphere language, the general mood of dating discourse often feels shaped by the same logic. It is less about meeting someone new and seeing what can unfold, but about assessing whether this person fits your criteria or not, and if it is efficient to proceed. And this is exactly how job interviews go on, if you haven't noticed. This is why it feels transactional now. The question has shifted from who is this person to what value does this person have? And what can this person do for my life? I think one of the clearest ways to see this is to analyze how the younger generations speak about love nowadays. And that's my generation. I'm Gen Z, and this is about Gen Z. Gen Z are the problem in this issue. Yeah, guys, we're the problem now. There are so many terms that we use now to describe states like emotional ambiguity, confusion, or even strategic detachment. Situationships, ghosting, love bombing, soft launching, hard launching, having Riz, being Delulu, like, what are we on about, guys? Can't we just speak in normal English? Like, but yeah. We even have like something like a talking stage, which somehow and for some reason can last up to half a year and not lead to anything. I mean, what are we doing? I recognize that these terms often come from a place of people needing some vocabulary to attribute to things they are living through, without also using complicated jargon from psychology, let's say. Like love bombing. It is a pattern that if you can recognize, it will be so good for your life. It will save you so many headaches and complications in the long run. And also some therapy sessions, in my opinion. But the problem here is that most of the time these terms are either used incorrectly to generalized or even romanticized sometimes. Like, why do you want a guy to love bomb you? I see posts sometimes it's like, if he doesn't love bomb me a little bit, I don't want him. Girl, you really don't want him if he love bombs you. Are you insane? Maybe you are. Maybe you are. Anyways, but people feel these need to categorize every experience they have and feeling and end up putting themselves and others in boxes. That prevents you from breaking cycles and from learning valuable lessons in your life, from my perspective. Not only that, this explosion in popularity of these terms says a lot about the state of dating. To me, it says that people are trying to survive in a deeply uncertain environment, trying to control everything around them. Constantly interpreting, decoding, looking for signs that this is going somewhere. And this is a problem because if you're constantly looking out for stuff, you're trying to control the environment, you're never relaxing, taking a deep breath, just letting things be, living your life, experiencing and feeling your emotions. That's so important when you're dating someone, when you're trying to get to know someone. Like, you have to be attentive to what this person makes you feel, how you feel around this person. If you're constantly trying to find out what every word means and what this person like, oh, they did this with their hand, what does it mean? Like, guys, like, calm down, just let things flow. Letting things flow is so underrated. Hot take. Hot take, guys. Like, letting things just flow and letting things just be is so underrated. A lot of people need to do that. And yeah, that will save a lot of y'all's dating lives. I'm telling you. So yeah, the problem is that you never feel like you're just texting someone. You are reading into timing, punctuation, effort, wording, story views, who liked what, whether they are emotionally unavailable, whether they are serious or just bored. You're trying to figure all of these things out. And in my head, I just think, what if people were just honest with each other? Maybe that's my problem. I just expect everyone to be honest with each other. But what if we were, What if we were? Like, what if I just tell you, hey, I'm not very emotional available right now. I just am looking for this. And the other person says, oh, I actually really want a full relationship. So I will go for that and I will not pursue you. I think that will connect to, like, people also tend to want to change the other person and they see potential, so they go after it. And honestly, that's a topic for a whole another video. I can also talk about that. But no, you cannot change them, okay? Put your phone down. You cannot change them. Don't text them, okay? The red flag is, and red flag is also a bad term, I cannot escape this. It's bad when dating starts to feel like a form of low level investigation, literally. And love doesn't come from pressure cookers, You cannot control every single thing that's going on. You're just putting pressure on it, and there's nothing coming out of it. Don't say that diamonds come from under pressure also. Like, don't fall into that, okay? Love won't come out of you trying to control every situation in your life. It has to grow in a stable, peaceful environment. And I don't mean also that you have to have a very peaceful and stable place in your life and everyone around you has to be perfectly healthy. No, I just mean, like, your approach to dating has to be stable in your head. You have to have a peaceful mindset when it comes to it. You cannot be like, oh my god, I have to control everything. You won't find love that way. You will find something else. Something from the terms that I described earlier. And I know that people do this because they don't want to get hurt. That's where the control stems from. I know that. But if you keep trying not to get hurt, it also means that intimacy will be filtered through that same analysis that you're trying to do so you don't get hurt. And then you have no room to breathe. You have no room to enjoy things that are happening to you. Intimacy is not like that. You don't build intimacy with someone like that. Love is spontaneous, and from my point of view, it cannot come from something that you're like, it is not like a perfect recipe. Love is not a perfect recipe. But then obviously there are the apps and spontaneity goes away completely. This is where that transactional feeling becomes much more concrete. You can assess if someone is dating material because they literally list all their qualities, their lifestyle, their values. You can see how they look and make a decision based on that. Which also, as you can guess, doesn't really make the case for love, I'd say. But apparently everyone's on it. A 2023 Pew Research report found that 3 in 10 US adults have used a dating site or app, and about half of single adults under 50 who are looking for a relationship are currently or recent users. The same research also found that users report a mix of hope and frustration, with many describing experiences like overwhelm, harassment, or insecurity on the platforms. That is not surprising at all because the app format itself encourages a certain way of relating to people. You make a profile, you compress yourself into what, 5 pictures? Prompts, little jokes here and there, a few traits, maybe a song, sometimes they allow that, and an aesthetic, a vibe to yourself, then you scroll through other people who are doing exactly the same thing. And before you have even spoken to them, they already have been filtered through your visual impressions, your attention span, preference sorting, and comparison. You already put them in a box. And I'd be an hypocrite to say that I've never been on dating apps. I have, and I've actually met my boyfriend on Hinge. So, from my experience, I tell you that dating apps are pretty good. I am a Hinge success story, but that's not the point because I am not here to criticize anyone who uses dating apps, and I'm not saying that you should not be on them. I am only questioning if convenience and efficiency should be at the heart of modern dating. This swipe logic is detrimental to love. It is shaped by speed, boredom, visuality, and self objectification, which, as a woman, I just find it really sad. These apps don't just help you meet new people, they train you to encounter them through a fast, image based, choice saturated format that matters. Once romantic interaction is structured like that, people do start to feel less like people and more like options. Profiles, possibilities, temporary candidates in a field of endless alternatives. It literally builds a consumer mindset around it and towards love. It becomes very easy in terms of how can I optimize love for myself. Maybe there is someone better out there. Maybe there is someone more attractive. Maybe there's someone who texts exactly in the right way that I want. I should not settle for this slight awkward conversation I just have, and maybe I should go for someone who is not awkward at all, which, by the way, everyone's a little awkward sometimes, you know? That is not love yet. That is a selection. That is decisions you're making based on attributes that are not based at all in emotions. That is a market exchange. And that brings me to the dating market. This is where dating culture starts to clearly overlap with the manosphere. A very misogynistic view on dating and on the world, to be honest. Even someone who does not directly engage with this misogynistic content, a lot of these frames have leaked into mainstream dating content, unfortunately. The problem with market language being used for dating is that it is not only cringe, but it also changes what love is allowed to be. A market assumes competition, something you have to plan and calculate very meticulously, and therefore concepts like sexual market value, high value being low value, maximizing your options, do not chase, attract, keep your power, don't lower yourself. Like, that is literally not how you speak about someone you're going to be maybe life partners forever, potentially. So once you start looking at romance through that frame, the person in front of you stops being someone to know and starts becoming someone to assess, to interview. You ask yourself, what are they worth? What status do they have? What can they offer? Like, people are products to buy and have as an accessory next to you. And this kind of thinking not only kills romance, but also kind of dehumanizes people. This is where, if you go deep into it, you'd assume that pretty much romance is dead. But I don't believe that. Romance is not dead. It is only dead if you believe so. If you think like this. If you think of dating like a market, then you will have a market. You won't have romance. And would you go to a job interview and think, is this romantic? Of course not. You wouldn't think that. So don't take dating as job interviews, okay? If you do want to, then don't complain that you don't find love or romance or anything of that sort, because you will find a business partner, not a love partner. And to me, it's so crazy that people don't see this clearly, you know? Like for me, it's so clear, you know? Like you shouldn't treat people that way, but I guess that we have all gotten so accustomed to think of everything as a product, to be consumed, sold, bought. It's sad. Going back to this manosphere concept, a lot of the times it is like highlighted your body count, for example. Getting to know someone shouldn't have a body count as a priority. That is your least concern, honestly. This is where I get really mad as a woman as well, because women in this perception are constantly objectified. We do live in a patriarchy. In a patriarchal society, women are often seen as objects, and if we start seeing everyone as a product, and women are even less than that, you know, like it's crazy. And also, women's needs are completely disregarded in modern dating. You know, a man who thinks like this, they will never think, what does a woman need? What should I provide my woman, if not like monetary value or whatever, because that's all they care about, money. And these men who are in these manosphere platforms, content, whatever, like they don't care about women. And that is so sad. And then to think that a lot of women get trapped into this thinking as well. They don't realize that they're also taking themselves down. They're ruining it from them for themselves as well. To just think that a lot of women only see themselves as this object, as this product to give value to some other man is very sad. And this is where it gets really dangerous also. I hope that no one watching this video really believes that there's a dating market and that you have some sort of value that you're going to add to another person, or something. Love is real, love happens, and love is all around us. Love is much more than a market. Dating is much more than a market, and you are not an object, you are not a product, you have emotions, you have needs and desires, and that's so okay to be honest about and be open about, you know? And I just hope that more people realize this, especially more women. For me, though, this goes beyond dating. I think it reflects something much bigger about how we live now. We are living in a culture of convenience. Everything is increasingly expected to be fast, frictionless, personalized, and available on demand. You order food, it arrives. You want entertainment, it is recommended for you. You need information, it comes to you. You just need to do a Google search. Platforms are constantly designed to reduce waiting time, reduce friction, and tailor all experiences to your taste. That is just a basic feature of the digital platform, and honestly, yeah, if you're selling a product, it should be convenient in some way, you know. But this has changed us. It trains us to expect life to work around our preferences. The problem is when we start to see everything this way. Because, yeah, a product is meant to be convenient, okay, fine, but not every aspect in life is supposed to be convenient. So many things require patience. Yeah, this system has trained us to see inconvenience as a failure. It trains us to value efficiency so much that anything that is slow, confusing, and emotionally demanding starts to feel defective. Then that mindset enters love. For example, you want a date? Just open a dating app and order one. I know it's not like that. I know you have to have an agreement between two people to go on a date, but you know what I mean, you know? You want to date? You go on a dating app. It's there for you. You can just swipe what you like, what you don't like. If you like someone, if they like you, go on a date. Life is not meant to be that easy. Life is supposed to have some friction. Here's the truth: dating apps do promise you the perfect partner. On paper, you can genuinely find someone who meets all your crazy criteria of your long list you have on your notes app. But the organic feeling of meeting someone and clicking, feeling the butterflies, is completely gone. Dating apps cannot sell you romance nor love. That's something that you have to build yourself and let it grow. It is something that takes time. It takes blood, sweat, and tears, sometimes literally. In the search for love, you will get hurt. It happens. That's how you learn. And that's how you will evolve to have better relationships in the future. By learning your boundaries, to know how to accept other people's limits and how to deal with other people's needs, by finding what you like, what dynamic works best for you. You have to find out, you will get hurt in the process. It's with sadness that then you will find happiness later in life. I really believe that life is like a cycle, and to evolve, you have to go through the hardships. And you will get hurt. You will have to accept that somehow, someday. You do all of this by being on the field, by getting hurt. You have to learn to live, being alive, and trust me, you won't find that in an app by itself. Love involves another person, and another person is never frictionless. They have moods, contradictions, rhythms that won't always match yours, needs that will interrupt yours, you know? They are not a curated extension of yourself. So I think one of the reasons that love feels so strange nowadays is that people are trying to make it function according to the logic of convenience instead of actually working through intimacy and realizing that intimacy is one of the least convenient things in the world. It is uncomfortable and you will feel uncomfortable sometimes, and you have to make your peace with it. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that none of this should be used to ignore red flags, bad situations, or times where you generally feel uncomfortable. That is not what I mean, and I do not want to romanticize struggle at all. I just mean the normal types of struggle, you know, like the healthy ones. Please, if you're not in a good situation, don't stay in it because you think love is gonna flourish out of it someday. That's probably not gonna happen. Genuine incompatibility happens. It is real. But I'm saying that also the perfect partner is not exactly how you think it is. And I'm also not saying that this romantic perfection, as I said, is a new thing, because in old movies from literally the last century, there's that version exactly. There's always this perfect love that's gonna come. But I don't mean that. I think both are bad to romanticize, but one is just an ideal, something that you dream about, you see in movies. This one is highly connected to efficiency and to the system we live in, which is capitalism. Even in older romantic culture, for all of its flaws, they'd never imagined a love like this. A lot of romantic narratives sold people the soulmate idea, yes, and that brought its own unrealistic expectations with it. But it also framed love as overwhelming, transformative, disruptive, and sometimes even very irrational. You know, you can see that even in some classic literature books. But staying on the present, recent research continues to show that media still shapes relationship expectations. A 2024 University of Mississippi study found that people who watched more Hallmark movies were more likely to endorse beliefs such as soulmates, love at first sight, and the idea that relationships are either meant to be or not. The study does not prove direct causation, but it does show that romantic media and relationship beliefs remain connected. I actually think that contrast is very interesting. Older romantic myths said love would sweep you away, but nowadays, dating culture says that love should fit seamlessly into your schedule, values, boundaries, aesthetics, future plans, communication styles, and emotional needs with no mess. That is just not possible. And I think a lot of people are stuck in this. They want to have depth, but they also want to control every single thing that happens in their relationship. They want intimacy, but without the confusion, without the figuring it all out. They want romance, but without being vulnerable ever. I mean, that is so unrealistic. What they want is not a person, it's a custom build. And I don't know, maybe with an AI you can get that, but not with a real human. And that brings me to the next topic, which is AI companions. Automation seems to be the answer to this. Once love gets framed as something that should be optimized, streamlined, and made more manageable, it makes sense that technology would start offering something like that. That is part of the promise of dating apps already, but AI brings this to a whole new level. The American Psychological Association has recently discussed how AI companions are beginning to reshape intimacy and emotional connection. And in 2026, it noted that psychologists are actively debating both the benefits and risks of digital emotional attachment. Other recent research from 2025 warns that companion AI may encourage dependency, pseudo-intimacy, and the erosion of human-to-human connection if it becomes a substitute rather than a supplement. In my perspective, I don't think it should even become a supplement because you're talking to a robot, you're not talking to something real, but sure. At least a supplement is better than a substitute. This whole pipeline sounds very logical to me. If real dating starts feeling exhausting, humiliating, and inefficient, of course people become drawn to the idea of something easier, something that will never ghost you, that will be there for all your needs and will fit all your criteria. An AI companion doesn't have bad timing, doesn't have mixed feelings, will not play you. It will do what it is programmed to do, which is to do everything you want, answer every prompt. But that is exactly why it is unsettling. It may feel soothing, flattering, even emotionally convincing sometimes if you're really deep into it, but it is not intimacy. It is a controlled simulation of intimacy. It is not real. You're not with another person. I think we should put a little bit more value on humans. To me, it sounds very strange. But if to you it sounds very logical and fine, please explain to me why. Let me know in the comments why you think that AI will be a good partner. Enlighten me, please. And I think this says a lot about the direction of modern dating. We say we want connection, but increasingly the systems around us train us to want connection without unpredictability. I must say though that I don't think people are shallow. I don't think people fully realize this. I think people are just trained to think like this. As I said, people are just used to it. If everything around us is convenient, then naturally our brains will be unaccustomed to inconvenience. Of course, if everything in your life is easy, you don't want this specific part of dating, which is already so complicated, to be difficult. And this is why this convenience culture is so dangerous to us, not only to our brains, to our intelligence, but to love. I think love is such a special attribute to humans. It's such a special thing that we have. And to kill it just because of some system, because of money, because of technology, I mean, I wish we could have all of this at the same time, but if we must choose, I will choose love all the time. And not only romantic love, but love for yourself, love for your family, and love for your friends. Love in all of these beautiful forms that we as humans can achieve. It's so beautiful. So, is there still love out there? That was my initial question. Honestly, I think there is love. Of course, there is love. Love is all around us, as I have said before in this video. It is very much out there. You just have to go out and reach for it. You have to untrain yourself to want everything to be easy and convenient, and you will have to take on the hardships. As I have said, you have to make peace with the fact that you will get hurt. Things won't be nice. It is hard to surpass this if you're constantly in a system that tells you that you have to manage your emotional risk. You have to manage like your time so efficiently, and there's no space to feel things. But I don't think that is true. I think you can do all of that and also feel your emotions and also look for the hard parts of life, you know? Look forward to them. That's how you will evolve. That's how you will learn new life lessons, how you will gain more wisdom. Isn't that such a good thing to grow old and say that you learned some things and that you have that old person wisdom because you went through the hard times, and to say that you made it through it all and you learned valuable life lessons that made you the person that you are today, and maybe you can show that by having an incredible partner next to you. Again, please don't go into toxic relationships just because I'm telling you that you should struggle a bit. I don't mean by going into toxic relationships, please don't do that to yourself. I mean just relationships that might feel good at the time, but after some time you might finish them, and that's fine. Like, it is not wasted time because you're always learning something. That's what I want you to leave this video with. If you're right now on a talking stage, for example, or in a situationship, I want to give you a challenge. I want to tell you that be honest. Take a risk. Take a risk that will make you uncomfortable. Tell the person you're talking to what you really feel. Tell them how they make you feel. Be honest with them. And if the other person refuses to be honest with you too, then you have your answer there. You have to make peace with the fact that you can't change people also. But again, this is a topic for another video. I can do a whole thing about that another time. If you're looking for love, if you're looking for romance, don't settle for situations where you don't find it there. Keep looking for it, because I am sure you will find it. It just takes time, patience, and you can't just order it on an app like you order food on Uber, okay? I am here to tell you the hard truth. If whatever situation you're in feels transactional and you don't want it to feel like that, then it's time to break the cycle. And I think that was a challenge I wanted to give you today. I hope this helped someone. I hope this gave you a new perspective. If it didn't, it's fine also. Tell me why you disagree in the comments and let me know all your thoughts. And if you enjoyed, leave a like, maybe subscribe. It really helps. More videos like this will come out. I have more videos on my channel if you want to check them out. You're always welcome here. And thank you so much for staying with me until the end. I will see you next week. Bye!